All right, as we're almost concluding this entire year of Dokkan, it is time for us to look back and talk about who was the best premium unit that has released for this game. And I'm gonna let you know right now, it's not a single 10th anniversary unit. And I know that's gonna be crazy to say because we really should be talking about Super Vegito for a potential nod in this spot. But I just don't think with how the meta has shifted that he deserves a nod for this spot. So we're really gonna look at current day and maybe even the future of who the strongest premium unit is going to be coming out of the 2025 year. Now, to be fair, there are still 2, 3, 4 more opportunities we could see a really crazy premium unit. This part 2 LR, the New Year's units, you know, the Christmas celebration. There are still opportunities, and this list could age horribly, but I think we need to talk about the fact of who is the strongest currently. And I think the first person we're going to look at to end the discussion of who's the strongest is the LR STR Blues. It's really hard to have a conversation about who is one of the best units in the game right now without having him in that conversation, even though I have my own reasons why I don't like this unit. I mean, you can't deny how good this unit really is. And I mean, it's, you know, if you have him at your 1, if you don't have him at your 1, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you talk to, he's in that conversation. That's how good this unit is. So, you know, when we're talking about, you know, the reasons why or who could be one of the best premium units coming out of this year, this unit has the potential to be the best aging unit for sure. One, because of the 80% dodge, you know, and he also has the ability to tank normals, and that's a crucial thing. Yes, they die to supers, to a majority of them that are in the higher threshold. They can still tank some supers, don't get me wrong, especially once you get that guard up. But if you're gonna tell me like, okay, this is a unit that has 80% dodge and also can tank normals, I would take that, right? That's a very strong kit. Now, again, not handling supers does suck, but if it's only super dodge or get killed by a super, I think a lot of people will take that. And then once again, I mean, the level of normal damage we're going to have to take for this guy to no longer be relevant is going to be absurd. And I'm not going to rule it out because I made a whole video earlier this year kind of just like laughing at the fact that how are they going to age out Vegito and how are they going to age out Beast Gohan, and they did it in the same celebration by creating some of the most ridiculous bosses we've ever seen. And I would say age out, but made them a lot less dominant for sure. Beast Gohan definitely is on death's door though, which is fine. He's been around for a year and a half or almost 2, and so Beast Gohan definitely needs to start leaving this the door of greatness and start heading into retirement until his EZA. But the Blues for sure in this conversation. They also have the utility of the Super Saiyan Blue Goku active skill. When you activate that, you get the dodge canceling nullification. So, you know, there's a lot of things that dodge units struggle with, right? 1 is they get hit, they die. 2 is dodge canceling bosses. That also hurts them, and they have utility against both. Their stats help them handle a few things like that. Their damage is pretty decent. I call them the all-rounder unit. They do pretty good in every category. I wouldn't say they're dominant in any category. I just think they're very good at everything. And you could argue that is enough to be the best premium unit in the game right now. But let's look at the other contenders and what we have. And that second unit is going to be LR AGL Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I think we have to also bring it in this conversation. Now, this is probably one of the most polarizing premium units we've had this year, because some people have them as high as 1 and probably as low as 4 or 5, because it really depends on your experience with this unit. And it also depends on the ecosystem you've been using this unit in. And I know it's such a weird terminology to talk about a Dokkan unit, but hear me out. If you're using him on a team, for example, the STR Blues, where, you know, it's not even about G4, he's just there because he's good, you're not going to see that well of a performance from him. He was built with the fact that you're going to be running him with AGL Super Saiyan 4 Goku. You're going to be running him with support and double Gogetas, right? His whole kit is with the intent and knowledge of the fact that he's going to have so much support on the GT Heroes team, so we have to hold back a little bit on him. And that's what I tell people a lot too is, look, if you're having a bad time with G4 and you're not having a great experience in this unit, it's probably because you're not using him in the right situations. You're probably using him outside of his team. You probably don't even have his intro up, right? There's a lot of scenarios. He's also dupe dependent, 100%. He needs dupes very, very badly, because his defensive levels fluctuate so drastically between a 55% and 100%, and so do all units. But I think the threshold of being elite and just good is between how much dupes you have in Gogeta. And like if you have him at 55%, you're like, he's all right. Well, that's because his defensive levels are not as impressive as you're hoping for, and that can cause, a serious fluctuation of evaluation. Versus a 79%, 90%, or 100% G4, who can tank a little more than, per se, the other two, making them look much more impressive than you would think. So I will say that. And I would say the Blues are under that same conversation as well, as dupe dependent. I mean, a 55% Blues can get the job done, so can a 55% G4, but I mean, the dodge chances are higher for the Blues when you get that higher percentage. They also have higher defenses, so they can tank more, right? Dupes are always going to matter in these conversations, of course, but for G4, I really do think it is a drastic swing between being just very good to elite, and I think that is a little different than versus the Blues or some other of these units on this list, and you could put that as something against them. But I will evaluate every unit at the end in my analysis onto the reason why I have chosen a unit to be the best for this year. But let's look at the third unit, and that's going to be the LR Fizz Omega Shenron. This unit I am very interested on here, on why I put him here, but Omega Shenron individually does not deserve to be on this list. Omega Shenron individually does not. I think Omega Shenron's a good unit, but without the absurd amount of cycling support that he has on this team, he really isn't the best. I still would say he's the worst worldwide Dallas Celebration LR in that context. Not altogether. He's not anymore. I'm just saying, if you're talking about physical Omega by himself, he's the worst worldwide Dallas Celebration, or sorry, the Global Dokkan Campaign unit that released this year. And not really by a large margin, I think, by the fact that he's very close regardless, because this is one of the strongest batch of units we've ever gotten in Dokkan history. So it's not really a knock against him. I'm just saying I don't love the fact that he doesn't tank super well against certain attacks, and outside of his team he can struggle, and there's a lot of factors that make him look unimpressive. I mean, the red zone bully fight, if you don't kill him fast enough, can absolutely obliterate Omega Shenron. Blue zone Rose, or sorry, the special battle Rose can absolutely clown on physical Omega, even with Omega basically having quote-unquote guard against him, because he doesn't have the other 10% damage reduction up, or he doesn't have links active, or the extra like 150% stats he gets from just having, some friends around, and a lot of things vary for Omega's production. The moment Omega is no longer a relevant leader, he is no longer a relevant unit. You cannot run him individually on any other team. You always need two Omegas. You always need that supporting cast for him to be good. The moment he becomes a role player is when he becomes completely irrelevant, and there's nothing wrong with that design. But if we're talking about being the elite unit of the entire year, I don't know if we can talk about a guy who relies on such a vast support system to be good. Because in versus G4, which I talked about the same thing, right? Well, what's the ecosystem you're using G4 in? Well, the other issue is G4 still good outside of his own team? He's not as elite, but he is still good outside of his ecosystem. You could still run him outside of his own team and he would still perform well. Yes, he performs the best on his own team, but he still performs well outside of it. Omega only performs on his own team. You cannot take him outside of his team, and that is a concern I think we have to bring up. But let's go ahead and talk about the final unit. I have the LR Tech Golden Frieza and Gogeta. Now, people maybe were expecting the LR STR Rose to be in this spot, and I understand that. I'm not putting him here. I think STR Rose is great, and he definitely benefits from having someone like Omega Shenron give him an extra defensive boost to become a very, very strong unit. But I still think, in my opinion, that Rose just doesn't do enough for me personally to be included as the best premium unit in this game. And I think the Tech Golden Frieza and Gogeta have some amazing things in their kit that, first of all, are going to allow them to age incredibly. Like one of the best aging units in this game, maybe not the best, but one of the best aging units in this game, and have such quick utility and turnaround that allow them to be such a dominant unit. Of course, you have the Golden Frieza side where you can automatically pop a redirect active to help protect your team and get your rotations going. And for example, this unit helps keep AGL Super Gogeta relevant because then you can float off or get rid of the Angel Vegeta, you know, the AGL one, who struggles turn 1, who sucks turn 1, right? And you can redirect and get him away, so the next time you see him, he's actually Angel Goku now, right? And all thanks to Golden Frieza's redirect, you can protect a unit like that. And also on top of that, has the ability to just, you don't even have to use that. You can exchange to Gogeta on turn 3, and then you have 2 turns of 100% dodge, and even after that, you're really looking at 80 to 90% dodge outside of that, with very decent defensive ability, by the way. This unit is absolutely incredible. I think I'm a lot higher on this unit than many people are. It does help I have him 79%, and that is thanks to the incredible luck I had on that banner, but I still think that people underestimate this unit a bit. I do think I like this better unit than Rose. That's just me though. I really do like their design. I like the damage they do. I like the utility. I like the defensive support, the dodging. I think there's a lot of things that this unit does good. But I think I've rambled enough on each unit. Let me talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each unit really quickly one more time, and I will give you who I think is the strongest unit of these 4 and who I'm going to label as the strongest or best premium unit of this year. The first, we're going to look at the STR Blues again. STR Blues pros, high dodge, have a really good chance of aging extremely well. Great active, great actives on both sides, either the guard and stats or the permanent stats and the dodge null, dodge cancel null, which is really good. But the cons I have is can't tank us super well. Can struggle to give you, he's not a carry, right? He's exactly a unit you want on your team, but I think if you're going to be the best premium unit in the game, you need to be a carry, and I wouldn't call them a carry. I think they're good, but they don't have any team protecting mechanics. You know, they're a good leader, they're a good unit, but they don't protect your team. They keep you alive, but only for that spot. And so I think that's one of the biggest knocks I'm going to give on them is no team protecting mechanic, which I think is very important if you're going to be the best unit in the game. Now, let's look at AGL G4. Some weaknesses is he can take damage from normals, right? If you fight some high-powered bosses, like for example the Kid Trunks or the Teen Gohan, you will see him take damage from normals, and it's scary. You're like, wow, this guy's taking normals damage. This guy's not good. Well, he actually takes super 30 as normals, which is an interesting design to say the least. But yes, he does have that. That's one weakness. 2 weakness is he does really rely on his GT Heroes team to be at his maximum performance, and he does need a lot of dupes. Outside of those 2, I think he's a very high damage dealer. He is very defensive for the most part. Easy access active skill, just like the Blues, but I think his active skill is the most dominant on this entire list, maybe outside of DBS Gogetas. You know, and then you also have his ability to counter, and he gives defensive support on his intro. So those are my pros and cons for Gogeta. Omega, insane damage dealer, debuffer, has a domain, has a null, or I guess a counter, right? I guess it would be a null. He has a lot of things going his way as well. Cons, relies heavily on his team, relies heavily on dupes, and he can struggle without the proper setups, and he can get killed very quickly by bosses that are not necessarily the strongest in the world, but I think that's my pros and cons, and Omega gets carried heavily by everything else around him. He doesn't really have a team protecting mechanic unless you can debuff the bosses, then you can count his debuffing as a team protecting mechanic. He does give crazy amounts of defensive support though, and 10% damage reduction to GT bosses, which do help a ton. Then finally, you have Tech, Golden Frieza, and Gogeta, who give you turn 1 defensive ability, turn 3 of a really impressive turn, because not only is it 100% dodge and crazy attack stats, he also gives 230%, well actually it's 280% defense to allies after he attacks, which is a ridiculous level of defense for one turn, which is basically a team protecting a mechanic on that turn, unless you're running like a Cyberman or something like that. You also have the ability, again, to have 2 turns of 100% dodge, and then again, Golden Frieza has that nice turn of redirect. So cons for this unit is Golden Frieza is fairly weak. I mean, I wouldn't say he's like awful, but his tanking ability is, there could be more there for him to be a little tankier, and you can probably lose some runs because of Golden Frieza outside of his redirect turn 1. Gogeta is very good, but dodge canceling still affects this unit, and on top of that, so does not getting enough tech orbs. He's not an orb changer as well, so that does hurt him both ways. And I wouldn't say he's dodge or die clearly, but he's definitely takes a super and die unit, similar to the Blues, except you can reach 100% dodge every turn if you have a proper orb setup, albeit it is not an easy orb setup to get. So we have now looked at all 4 of these units. Who do I think is the strongest? 4th place, I have the physical Omega Shenron individually. Now, if you put him on a tier list, I'm putting Omega 3. Okay, but if you're talking about the best premium unit, who we're gonna look back at 2025, this is the best unit ever, I would put Omega under Golden Frieza and Gogeta individually. Now, if you're talking about the team and how he plays this role right now, I would put Omega above him, but I do think that there are issues with setups that you could see with Omega, but he does benefit right now significantly from a majority of these bosses being able to be killed very quickly, low HP bars of course, and also debuffing is great. But as I mentioned, we have a new red zone Broly that he can struggle in somewhat significantly, and that is something that I have been on red alert of, and the reason why I have to put him on number 4 on this list. I think he's very good. I think that Rose does benefit from his team, but the more I use Omega, the more I think I'm comfortable saying out of this list, he is the worst, but not by a large margin. I would say the Tech Golden Frieza and Gogeta, who is my 3rd unit, is very close with physical Omega. And yes, you can argue Golden Frieza being fish turn 1, but so is Omega without a second Omega Shenron up. And let's say you didn't even get the proper linking partner for him turn 1, you could see Omega Shenron look pretty bad on that turn. And that's the reason why I think they're somewhat equalized on that turn. Plus, Golden Frieza has the ability to redirect on turn 1, allowing him to have some utility and actually be able to live on those turns. Then you have the Gogeta side, which I think is just much more dominant than Omega Shenron, in my opinion, in a short meta, right? In a short meta, I think DBS Gogeta is incredible. But the one problem, of course, with Tech Golden Frieza and Gogeta is they really only are designed for short meta. And then if you want to argue more longevity, then Omega Shenron would be better, potentially. So we have Omega at 4. We have Golden Frieza and Gogeta at 3. Who is my number 2? Well, actually, I'm not even going to say who's my number 2. Who's my number 1? Because you know my number 1, you know my number 2. My number 1 unit is LR AGL Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. And I already know people are clicking off the video and they're getting mad. Like, no, he's not one. The Blues are. The Blues are so good. How could you do that? Here's the thing, right? Blues are fantastic in terms of being able to age well. They have great, they're all-rounder. They are amazing. But the one thing I will always come down to is not having a team protecting mechanic. They do have one moment where they shine, and I would say you could argue that is above G4, and that is using them in festival battles, especially against the Diamond phase, and watching the Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta absolutely clear everything right in front of you within basically a turn. Sure, I will give you that. I will. And I don't think this is even a separation contest. I think they're super close, and it just depends on what you prefer. I'm generally not a person who will take offense over defense in any other meta but this one. This meta is all about bosses who get stronger the longer you keep them alive. And the Blues damage is good, but it's not game-changing damage that the G4 does. And G4, yes, is going to get you killed more often than the Blues. But if you're going to tell me, okay, yes, but the G4 at the same time is also going to be able to kill bosses way faster, help protect your team more, right? I'm going to take G4. I have to, right? His Dragon Fist turn is one of the most powerful turns in this entire game. The G4 also, again, his damage is so crazy that he can kill bosses before they get to their maximum potential, allowing your whole team not to have to go under the pressure of facing a 15 mil crit Kale and Caulifla, or facing a Rose that is fully maxed out, or facing the Goten Gohan Trunks fight with the Gohan fully maxed out, right? There is importance to finishing bosses as fast as possible, and that is what G4 brings. Once again, I normally would never take a unit like this, but I think the meta is geared towards you have to kill the boss as fast as possible or they will kill you, right? Plain and simply. Like, especially, let's look at Blue Zone, right? And Blue Zone's a great example of this, where they do so much damage they will one-shot you no matter what. But if you have someone like G4 or Mega Shenron, you can do so much damage to them right away before they even attack you. They have a chance of dying. That is valuable, and that is why I have to put G4 as my number one. Now, in the future, when we get to future metas and the 11th anniversary, is this going to be the case? I think the Blues are probably going to age the best, but it is not talking about who's going to age the best. It's talking about the unit as a whole. Individually, are they the best premium unit this year? And I think G4 takes it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. You guys think I'm stupid and dumb and that this was like a ridiculous video, and no, I would never take G4, or I would always take G4, right? I would love to hear what you guys think. I think the Blues and G4 are going to be such a heated debate for a very long time, even past the 2025 year. But again, I appreciate you guys so much for just coming out and listening to the video. If you guys enjoy this kind of content, make sure to click the first link in the description for all voice content. The second one's going to be to all my Dokkan Battle content videos in general. And then finally, my third one is to my G Fuel link. If you guys are looking for a way to get a discount on your G Fuel products, make sure to use LR24 at checkout for 20% off. And I'll see you guys in the next one.